Have you ever woken up paralyzed, unable to move or speak, with an overwhelming sense of dread? These true sleep paralysis stories will send chills down your spine and make you question reality itself. Welcome back to Mr. Darkveil. Tonight we dive into the terrifying world of sleep paralysis, a nightmare many face but few understand. You wake up aware of your surroundings, but your body refuses to move. You can't scream, can't escape, and something is lurking in the dark. Is it just a trick of the mind, or is it something far darker? In this video, I'll share 3 real and spine-chilling sleep paralysis stories. Stay close, because once we begin, you might not be able to move either. Story 1. It started on an unremarkable Thursday night. I had been dealing with some stress at work. Nothing too extreme, just deadlines and long hours that made me feel like I was constantly running behind. I chalked up my sleepless nights to caffeine and anxiety, but the night it happened, I had no idea my understanding of fear was about to change forever. I fell asleep sometime after midnight. It was one of those restless dozes where you're aware of your body and the room around you, but too tired to care. At some point, my dreams became abstract, swirling with incomprehensible shapes and sounds, dull red hues and metallic ringing that had no source. Then, all at once, I woke up. But something was wrong. My eyes were open, but my body wouldn't move. Not even a twitch. I was lying on my back, staring up at the ceiling, and I immediately felt that something was watching me. There was a presence in the room. My first thought was that someone had broken in. I tried to yell, nothing. My lips wouldn't part, my throat was locked up. Panic clawed up my chest like a living thing. My heart pounded against my ribs, and I could feel the sweat pooling under my back. Then I saw it. At first, it was just a dark smudge in the corner of my room beside the closet door, but the longer I stared, the more defined it became. It was tall, unnaturally tall and thin, with limbs that seemed too long for its frame. Its shape was human, but wrong. It didn't move, it just stood there, watching. I wanted to scream. It wasn't just the paralysis, it was the feeling this thing gave off. The overwhelming, soul-crushing dread that pulsed through the room like heat waves off asphalt. Every instinct in me screamed that if this thing got closer, something inside me would break. Not just physically, but mentally, spiritually. And then it did move. One slow, shuddering step. It didn't walk like a person. It sort of glided forward with a twitching motion like old stop-motion animation. My vision started to blur with tears, but my eyes remained open. It stepped to the side of my bed, and I could finally see its face, or what I thought was a face. There were no eyes, just 2 dark pits where they should have been. No mouth, but the suggestion of one like the outline of something rotting beneath a sheet. Its head tilted slowly, as if examining me. Then I heard it. A whisper, not in my ears, in my mind. You never left. What did that mean? I couldn't move, I couldn't ask. I just laid there, terrified, while this thing stood inches from my face. Then it bent down. I swear to God it got so close I could feel its cold presence against my skin. No breath, no smell, just cold. That same frigid stillness you feel in a funeral home. It leaned in and whispered again, louder this time. You've been here all along. And then it touched me, not physically. Its hand, or whatever it had, passed into my chest. A feeling I can only describe as someone grabbing the inside of your soul, like ice, water rushing through your rib cage. I thought I was dying. And then I woke up. I bolted upright, gasping, drenched in sweat. My bedroom was empty, the shadow was gone. The closet door stood open just a crack, as it always had. The silence was deafening. I told myself it was just a nightmare, a sleep paralysis episode. My rational brain kicked in, explaining away everything as my mind trying to process stress and exhaustion. But then, it happened again. A week later, and this time it was worse. The night it returned, I had taken every precaution. No caffeine, early bedtime, meditation. I even left the light on. I told myself, if it's just a dream, the light will break it. I was wrong. I slipped into sleep without much trouble, but I woke up again, frozen, to that same crushing dread. The shadow was standing at the foot of my bed, only this time it had brought something with it. There was another figure, smaller, hunched over. It crawled out from underneath my bed like a broken insect. Its limbs were jagged, and it moved in quick, jerky spurts. It didn't look at me. It looked at the tall figure as if awaiting instruction. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My mind screamed, "Wake up! Wake up!" But nothing happened. The tall shadow pointed at me. The crawling thing began to climb up the bed. Its hands, or claws, scratched against the fabric, tearing small holes as it ascended. My chest felt like it was being crushed, and my breathing became erratic. Then it reached my chest and leaned close. That's when I saw its face. It was my face, twisted, distorted, but unmistakably mine, as if someone had taken my face and stretched it like melted wax. Its mouth opened wide, wider than physically possible, and I finally heard a voice that wasn't a whisper. "You belong to us now." Then everything went black. I awoke with a gasp, curled on my side, sobbing. The light was off. I know I had left it on. I tried to convince myself it was just another dream. But then the real horror began, not in sleep, but in waking life. I started to see things during the day, reflections in windows that weren't mine, shadows that moved in the corner of my vision. People around me began asking if I was okay. "You look haunted," one coworker said, "like you've been somewhere you didn't belong." And the worst part, every time I fell asleep after that, I'd feel them watching. Always just on the edge of consciousness, the tall one, the crawling one, and the version of me that wasn't me at all. And then came the third visit. It was about a month later. I hadn't had an episode in days. I thought maybe it had passed. I even felt normal again. I went to bed one night, genuinely tired, thinking I might finally get a peaceful sleep. But as soon as my head hit the pillow, I felt it. Not sleep, descent. I was falling, not physically but spiritually, like my soul was being dragged down. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my room anymore. I was in a vast, pitch-black space. There were no walls, no floor, just endless darkness. And floating before me were dozens of them, shadows, crawling, twitching, looming, each one shaped like people, some distorted, others barely recognizable, and in the center of them, me. The twisted reflection from before, it spoke without moving its mouth. "You finally see the truth." I tried to scream, but no sound came. All I could do was watch as they surrounded me. "You never woke up." I don't remember how I escaped. I just remember jolting upright in my bed, covered in sweat, breathing so hard I nearly passed out. I checked every inch of my room. Nothing. No shadows, no crawling thing. But deep down, I knew something was different. I haven't felt awake since. Everything feels off, slightly unreal, like I'm still dreaming, still there. They say sleep paralysis is just a trick of the brain, a misfire during REM, a harmless hallucination. But what if it's not? What if it's a glimpse into something else, something that watches us, waits for us, and eventually pulls us back in? If you've ever woken up paralyzed, maybe you weren't waking up at all. maybe you were slipping back into their world. Story 2. I've never believed in the supernatural, ghosts, demons, astral projection, just tales for sleepless nights and horror junkies. But everything changed a year ago during one harrowing stretch of nights. I still don't know what was real and what wasn't. All I know is I was awake, fully conscious, and something else was there with me. It started innocuously enough, a twitch, a dream, a sensation of falling and jolting awake, typical stuff. But then came the second night. I'd gone to bed around midnight after scrolling through my phone for too long, as usual. I remember feeling exhausted, yet restless, like my body was tired, but my mind wasn't ready to shut down. At some point, though, I must have drifted off, and then I opened my eyes. My room was bathed in a pale blue hue, moonlight sneaking in from the slats of the blinds. Everything looked normal, familiar. The desk, the half-drunk glass of water, the open closet door. But something was wrong. I tried to sit up and couldn't. My limbs were frozen. I couldn't move my arms, legs, fingers. Even my head was locked in place. Panic blossomed in my chest as I tried to scream, but my lips wouldn't part. It felt like I was buried alive inside my own body. At first, I thought it was just a dream. But the pain in my shoulders from the way I'd slept, the sharp tingle of my foot having fallen asleep, those were too vivid, too real. Then I saw it. At the edge of my peripheral vision, something moved, just a flicker at first near the corner of the room. I strained my eyes, trying to focus. Slowly, a figure began to take shape, impossibly tall, lanky, with limbs that seemed too long for its body. It stood just inside the closet doorway, its form more shadow than substance. But it was watching me. I told myself it wasn't real, just my brain playing tricks in the paralysis haze. And then it stepped forward, no sound, no footsteps, just the shift of weight, like liquid darkness stretching toward my bed. My lungs screamed for air, and I fought to move, to do anything. But my body remained a prison. It leaned in close, its face, or what I assumed was a face, hovering inches above mine. No features, just black, swirling void. It raised one arm, a grotesque, elongated appendage, and brought it toward my chest. Then I felt it. Not just pressure, movement. My chest caved under its touch. My ribs creaked. I felt the weight of it, the coldness radiating from its presence, and then, with surgical precision, it began pushing into me. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean inside, like my body wasn't solid, like I was just an empty shell. The world bent, my ears filled with an otherworldly screech, 1,000 voices whispering backwards. I felt myself tearing apart from the inside, a sensation both physical and mental, as if my soul was being pried loose. And then, just like that, it stopped. I snapped upright, gasping, my body drenched in sweat, heart pounding, room silent. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I convinced myself it was a nightmare, a one-off, stress, caffeine, overactive imagination, but it wasn't. The next night it happened again. This time, I thought I'd try something new. I kept a small desk lamp on, thinking maybe the light would stave off the darkness. It didn't. I woke up around 3:10 a.m. again, frozen, eyes wide open, breath shallow. And again, the thing was there. But this time it didn't creep. It stood directly beside my bed, fully visible in the amber glow of the lamp. I saw its skin translucent, rippling like water. Its limbs dangled unnaturally, joints bending in directions they shouldn't. Where its eyes should have been, there were only pits, gaping, bottomless pits. It reached for me again, but this time, something changed. As its hand pressed against my chest, I felt a sudden surge of motion, not in the world around me, but in me, like I was moving fast, falling again, not downward, but forward, and then everything shifted. I was still in my bed, still paralyzed, but the room wasn't mine. The posters on the walls were different. The closet was gone. The furniture was mismatched. It was like my consciousness had shifted into another version of my room. The entity was still there, but now it was different. No longer shadowy, but crystalline, pulsing like it had a heart of its own. And surrounding it were more like it. Dozens, all watching me, their heads tilted slightly in unison. Then I saw me, another version of me, lying on another bed, across the room, mouth wide open, eyes vacant, limbs twitching. I felt like I was seeing a mirror image, or an alternate self. And I could feel them inside me, not metaphorically. I could sense their presence crawling under my skin, whispering in a tongue I didn't know, gnawing at my thoughts. The worst part, they weren't just observing, they were learning from me. I don't know how I broke free. It was like my body suddenly remembered how to scream. I let out a strangled cry and bolted upright, knocking over the glass of water on my nightstand. This pattern continued for 5 nights. Each time the hallucination grew more intense, more vivid. But the sensation of movement, of myself being shifted or dragged into other realities, that became the most horrifying part. On the 6th night, something new happened. I decided to record myself, just a simple webcam facing the bed. I needed to know if any of it was real, if anything showed up on camera. That night, the paralysis came quickly, and with it, the creatures. But they didn't interact with me this time. They surrounded the bed, hands raised. I couldn't feel them, but I knew they were doing something, chanting, ritualistic. The air grew thick, like breathing through syrup. And then I floated. I watched as my body remained still below, but I was hovering. I looked down at myself from above, but not just above, from behind the eyes of another version of me. It was like a camera shifting scenes. I was in multiple bodies, in multiple rooms simultaneously, each one a fractured reality, each one filled with those things. They weren't hallucinations, they were real, and they were using my dreams as doors. I woke up crying, screaming, drenched in sweat. The next morning, I reviewed the footage. At first, nothing. Just a sleeping figure, me, unmoving. But then, 3:13 a.m., the video glitched. For a second, my image warped, stretching like taffy. The audio crackled, and then, just before it returned to normal, one single frame, showed something else. A tall figure standing over me, too tall to be human. No eyes, no face, just watching. I've shown it to a dozen people. They all think it's doctored, a trick of the light, compression artifact. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. I haven't slept properly in months. I take pills now. I keep every light in the house on at night. I've moved twice. But the truth is, I don't think it's the house. I think it's me. Something's attached to me. Something I invited unknowingly when I was weakest, when my body couldn't move, and my mind cried out for help. And every time I sleep, I can feel it trying to pull me back because I've learned something terrible. It doesn't want to possess me, it wants to replace me. And one day, I won't wake up. Story 3. I always thought I was alone in my sleep paralysis episodes until I realized I wasn't the only one there. The first few times it happened, I chalked it up to stress. I'd wake up in my bed, completely frozen, unable to even twitch a finger. My eyes would dart around the room, half expecting to see something. But I never did, not then. But I started noticing something strange after the 3rd or 4th episode. It wasn't just the sensation of being trapped in my body. It was the sound, like a low-frequency hum, almost too deep to hear, vibrating through my bones. It always started just before the paralysis kicked in, like some hidden engine firing up beneath my bed. It was subtle at first, then it grew. One night, I woke up to that hum louder than ever, and this time, I knew I wasn't alone in the room. My bedroom, bathed in moonlight, looked exactly as it should have. But something was off, a pressure like the air had thickened. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, just breathe shallowly, my chest rising millimeter by millimeter. That's when I saw it. Not a shadow, not a figure, but a ripple, like heat distortion, standing in the farthest corner of the room. The more I stared, the more I could make out the shape, tall, thin, almost humanoid, but flickering like it wasn't meant to be seen. And then it noticed me. I couldn't look away. It began to move, gliding across the floor without sound, the space around it warping slightly with each step. I felt my heartbeat hammering in my skull, but I still couldn't move. I tried, God. I tried so hard to wake up. It stopped inches from my face. I felt something cold, not physically cold, but a psychic chill, like its presence was slicing into my thoughts. And just when I thought it would lean in or touch me, I woke up. But the fear didn't fade with consciousness. It lingered like a bad smell. The next day, I stayed up as long as I could, slammed caffeine, walked around in circles, tried everything to avoid sleep. I even Googled the thing I saw. Hundreds of hits for sleep paralysis demons, shadow people, interdimensional beings. Everyone had theories, but no answers. One forum post caught my eye, though. Someone had written, "They aren't hallucinations, they are travelers, and you only see them when you're between worlds." That line stuck with me, because the next night I didn't just see the creature, I went with it. I don't remember falling asleep. One moment, I was reading on the couch, the next, I was back in bed, paralyzed again. But this time the hum had changed. It was rhythmic, almost melodic. It called to me. The same distortion appeared in the room, but this time it wasn't just one. There were three. Each of them shimmered in and out of phase with the room, their outlines just barely traceable, and somehow I could feel their thoughts. Not words, not even images, just intent. They wanted me to see something. My body stayed in bed, but my mind didn't. There was a shift, like gravity twisting, sideways. Suddenly, I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was standing, though I couldn't feel my legs, in a space that wasn't real. A landscape that bent in impossible directions, skies that pulsed with dark red light, buildings made of glass that dripped upward. I don't know how else to describe it except to say it wasn't a dream. It was too detailed, too coherent, too real, and the creatures were there too, but no longer flickering. Here in this place, this unseen world, they were clear, translucent skeletal figures with elongated limbs and faces that looked almost human, except for the eyes, hollow voids that sucked in the light. Their skin, or whatever passed for it, shifted like liquid glass, sometimes reflecting me, sometimes showing other versions of myself. One approached me and touched my forehead, and suddenly I could see them everywhere. Every sleep paralysis episode I had ever had, they had been there, watching, studying, feeding, but not on flesh, on fear. They weren't interested in killing, no. They were collectors of emotion, harvesters of raw terror. Our nightmares were their feasts. Every person who had experienced sleep paralysis had unknowingly opened a door, a crack in the veil, and some of us, unlucky ones, were drawn deeper in. I was one of them now, not one of the creatures, but one of the marked. When I woke up the next morning, I screamed, because etched into the wall above my bed, clear as day, was a handprint, elongated, thin, shimmering faintly in the light, like oil on water. I hadn't imagined it. I stayed at a friend's house for the next few nights, pretending everything was fine, but it wasn't, because now, even when I was awake, I saw flickers in the corners of my vision, mirrors that didn't quite reflect correctly, shadows that didn't belong, and worst of all, the hum. It followed me in elevators, in quiet hallways, in the silence just before sleep, always just beneath the threshold of hearing. One night, I tried something desperate. I set up cameras, audio recorders. I even left my laptop running with a voice activation recorder. I wanted proof. I needed to know if I was losing my mind. What I got broke me. The video showed me lying in bed, still as a corpse, for the first 2 hours, nothing unusual. Then, around 3:17 a.m., the image flickered, the light bent, the lens distorted, and something stepped into frame. It didn't walk, it glided, its arms too long, its torso pulsing faintly. It moved to the side of the bed and leaned over me. The screen flickered again, then black. The file corrupted, but the audio survived, and in it, you can hear me breathing rapidly, choking, then the hum, and underneath it, a faint, guttural whisper. It repeated only once, but I'll never forget it. He's awake in both worlds now. I haven't slept in 3 days. I see them constantly now. They're not even hiding anymore. I see their reflections in glass, in puddles, even in my own goddamn eyes when I pass a mirror. I tried burning, sage, visiting a priest, a shaman. No one believed me. No one could believe me, and even if they did, what could they do? This isn't a possession, this is observation. I'm being watched across dimensions. I don't think they'll kill me. I don't think they even can, but I do think they're waiting. For what? I don't know. Maybe for me to fall asleep again, maybe for me to fully cross over. Maybe for the line between dreams and reality to shatter completely. But here's the most terrifying part. I'm starting to like it because when I close my eyes now, I see the other world clearly, and sometimes, just sometimes, I wonder if I belong there more than here. So, if you've ever had sleep paralysis, if you've ever felt eyes on you in the darkness, seen a shadow that shouldn't be there, heard a hum with no source, you're not alone. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear it too. The sound of them watching, waiting. Because sleep is not just rest, it's an invitation. Each of these stories offers a terrifying glimpse into the hidden world behind our dreams. What if sleep paralysis isn't just a trick of the mind, but a door to something darker, a place where shadows watch, whisper, and wait? Have you ever experienced something like this, being awake yet trapped with something lurking just out of sight? Let us know in the comments. Your story might be featured next. Thanks for watching this nightmare-fueled journey through real sleep paralysis encounters. If these stories chilled you to the core, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying tales every week. This is Mr. Darkveil, signing off. Until the next darkness finds you in your sleep, stay awake if you can.